So for October, I want to focus on an odd game for the Sega CD based on the movie The Lawnmower Man. It's technically a sci-fi film and a horror movie, but also because it has some old dated 90s CGI, similar to that of Cyberworld, and I thought it would be pretty interesting. And it was a mistake, this game sucks, but there was also a lot of technical issues. And besides, it really wasn't a very October-y type of game, so instead I chose Silent Hill and put this one on hold. However, I did eventually solve those issues, which I'll talk about later on in the review. But before I do, I feel it's pretty necessary to talk about the movie, as the Sega CD game is sorta a sequel, and besides, I don't really think a lot of people really remember the movie anyways. The Lawnmower Man was a movie released in the mid-90s, and it was advertised as a Stephen King story. Well, technically it wasn't. Now, there was a story called The Lawnmower Man, but it's entirely different. The only thing they have in common is that there's a person who mows lawns. It's like having an unrelated dog movie and slapping the name Cujo on it. It's a pretty sneaky tag to get people invested, like total clickbait and false advertising. And yes, there was a lawsuit. The original script, however, was called Cyber God, which is a lot more fitting. The main characters of the movie are Dr. Angelo, a scientist working for the government, played by Pierce Brosnan, shortly before playing James Bond, and Joe Smith, a mentally disadvantaged man played by Jeffrey Fahey. Dr. Angelo was using virtual reality to boost the intelligence of chimpanzees, and the organization he was working for, the Shop, wanted to use his research for war. However, the chip got too self-aware and escaped the facility, ruining Angelo's research as they really wanted to get started on using real people. And hold on, Dean Norris is in this movie? So you're telling me the bastard in the IQ test was Hank Schrader the entire time? Just don't worry about that for now. So Angelo sets his sight on Joe, the local lawnmower man. His closest friends are his boss, and a kid in the area who unfortunately has an abusive father. But he's also a target for bullying by some assholes in the gas station, and is abused by a religious extremist priest, who is his guardian and takes care of him. Angelo shows Job and his friends some of the VR games he has. It is a little more close to how the Oculus Rift is in real life, when it comes to mimicking a movement. Most of these characters are in hammocks or chairs, that makes them feel like they're floating or in the air. The CGI has aged poorly, but it does feel simple and quaint. And for the record, the movie came out in 1992. Toy Story came out in 1995, 3 years later. Now, what isn't accurate is the Oculus Rift making you smarter, which is something that Angelo tries to propose to Joe. So, I think you get what happens next. The story is definitely like Flowers for Algernon, but with virtual reality. Wait, do people this generation even remember that book? Okay, well, do you remember that one episode in Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlotte becomes a test subject and... maybe too specific. Okay, now imagine if Chris Chan really did become a CPU god and... Okay, now I think I'm just pissing people off. Okay, you know that big brain meme? The movie is pretty much like that. God, brain, and all. So I think you get the idea. It's about a mentally slow person becoming extremely intelligent. Wait, why did I just say that? The test became a success. Not only is his intelligence boosted, he also finds more appreciation for the classical arts, giving up comic books.
Do you want to check out the comics first?
No, I gave them up, Peter.
No way.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I got my whole collection in that crate in the back of the truck, and I'm giving it to you.
Yes, I prefer the art of the East instead. He processes information more quickly, having a little bit of everything all the time. Oh shit, was this movie making commentary on the internet? He is also physically fit, and he even manages to get laid. Wait a minute, can Job even consent? He later invites a woman to one of the VR machines to have cyber sex. Things go wrong and she's mind-broken. His new knowledge comes with some issues as he develops psychic powers. Eventually, Job's powers escalate to having psychokinesis and a god complex. He even surpasses Dr. Angelo in intelligence. Job ends up overdosing some of Angelo's medicine, but they were actually tampered by the organization and makes him unstable, as they were actually part of Angelo's old research that wasn't tested on humans yet. This leads to Job going on a killing spree to all the people that wronged him. He kills a priest, wipes the asshole's mind, and outright kills a father. The police were on their sights on capturing the murderer, but Job brainwashes them off their trail. Job restricts Angelo and brainwashes his boss so he could transfer his body to VR to take over the world through cyberspace by having every single phone ring at the same time. The organization tries to fight back, he overpowers them, turning them into molecules, or overpowering them with VR beads. Angelo is freed by the kid, but takes some bombs with them to blow up the lab. Boy's mom drives him there, but he's too late. Joe's body is already mummified, and his mind is already in cyberspace, ready to achieve his goal. But Angelo blocks any means for Joe to escape, so cyberspace wouldn't be corrupted, and enters the VR room to confront him, trapping Job in cyberspace. Then he finds out the kid is in danger as he enters in the lab too. Job's original good personality comes out to tell Angelo to save the boy, as he allows himself to be sacrificed. The boy is saved and the lab blows up, destroying Job, and Angelo decides to do his research underground, so no one else could corrupt his work. That's the basic overview of the movie. Although the premise is very simple and cliched, Job is somewhat of a likable character. It's interesting seeing Job evolve from a kind-hearted simpleton to a cold genius with God complex. A very dark take on the Algernon cliche, and I'm sure there's plenty of room for speculation on why Job became the way he did. It does, however, make Angelo a very shady person, since I felt he was manipulating Job for his own end too. Which is another thing I noticed. Despite trying to help Joe by giving him more control, he ends up being used by even more people, the shop organization included. Overall, I think the movie is alright, but that's not exactly how the movie ends, because Joe did find an entrance to cyberspace, and managed to achieve his goal all along. And that's where the Sega CD game continues from the story. Apparently, after the events of the movie, the world does get messed up.
Job brought the world to its knees when he rang every phone in the world and crashed the global computer network. Nations fell, borders changed.
It also appears that Job kidnaps a boy and his mother, with Angela having to go back to VR in order to save them. So part of the reason I did the overview of the movie is because that some of the enemies in the game are from Job's kill count in the movie. There's the priest, the director working with Angelo, who were killed by Job in the movie, but they also added the monkey? Okay, that's pretty odd. I thought it was just an excuse to use the monkey, but it turns out in the director's cut he has more screen time, with a screenshot being used for the intro. And despite this villain roll call, the abusive father is nowhere to be seen. Is it because he killed him outright? They also said the priest had a corpse too.
What else happened last night? Well, somebody torched poor old Father McKean with a flamethrower or something. Must have been a Satan cult or something.
And I don't think he technically killed the guy in the gas station. I think he just messed his brain. Not sure. But what about the woman? Shouldn't she be an enemy? I mean, she's in the cutscenes. Or what about the boss? He was one of the few people nice to him. And what about the evil CEO guy played by Dean Norris? He was still alive in the movie. And I get an impression I'm putting too much thought into this. But in the end, they're just mindless grunts. So parts of the game, out of context, look a lot more confusing than they actually are. But the game is actually fairly simple. It's just minigame after minigame. The first section is finding the jet, just like how it is in the movie. Pretty simple enough. For now, the game tells you what direction you need to go. By the way, it's one of those games with inverted controls. So when the game is pointing up, you actually have to go down or vice versa. It's pretty annoying. Although in the movie, it appears that there's some hit point damage. But here, if you fail once, you die. Well, that's kinda lame. I mean, I guess it does make sense in a narrative perspective that if the characters die in the game, they die for real. But why would you make the real game more difficult than the fictional one? That's just lame. Like many licensed Sega CD games, they show you brief clips in the movie, but things get really fucking annoying when it comes to the IQ test. You are given 4 rows of random shapes, numbers, or letters, and given absolutely no context, or instructions of what to do. And keep in mind, this is exactly at the beginning part of the game, so even if you did do the jet section right, you're stuck in a brick wall here. This is where the manual comes into play, something that I imagine ROM players overlook. The manual really does go into detail about the instructions of many of the minigames, as the game just presents them without any context. And if you're going to look for the manual, don't accidentally get the SNES or Genesis one, just saying. For the IQ test, what you're supposed to do is find the odd one out, whether they are in a different pattern, or a different number, or a letter that's out of place in the 4 sections. If you get one of them wrong, Hank Schrader will call you low IQ, and if you do it too much, you die. And you might actually need to get your multiplication table, No, for real. There's also a time limit, as you can see from this poorly cropped camera. But sometimes it feels like you get it right, but for the wrong reason. There was one where I assumed this was the right answer because it was shaped different, which is just the graphics, not the right answer at all. There was even one time where I saw one of them with a prime number compared to the rest. Anyways, here are the answers and hope it will help. Context be damned, though. Also, you get these platforming sections. What the fuck? Oh, let me guess. Up is jump, right? One of those type of games. Yeah, it is. Slowly turn to the AV chair. Afterwards, you get another platforming section where you have to avoid obstacles. And you really have to be precise on how you jump. But that's actually just an illusion. The trick is to tap up or down multiple times, as long as you know which obstacle is coming. So this appears perfect. What I'm actually doing is up, down, 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 up, down, 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 down. That's because the animation is very limited. And the reason I do this multiple times, well, the controls are terrible. And it's not just the control mapping either. They actually are quite unresponsive. There are some games that are fairly straightforward, like the microchip section. Just choose which direction to go, judging by the path. Then there's less straightforward ones, like the robot minigame. And I was super confused on what to do, and I'm on a time limit, and it still runs while the animation loads. What you're supposed to do is move your robot to the key, only using your memory of what you saw, and tap the direction while the robot does it off screen. The platforming, IQ test, and the jet minigame are ones that show up reoccurring throughout the game. Near the midway point, you do a bit of a boss rush, quote unquote. First is the director. Here, you are given multiple platforms to jump on, but the director's on the other side too. However, he's freaking invisible and chasing after you. So yeah, that sounds annoying. My advice is go to the middle right to avoid his face, while also backtracking as a way to move him off course. It was pretty challenging, but that's my strategy of how to do it. I guess you can use save states too, but that could be too much, and you can save yourself to a corner. I know some people may be upset that I use save states. And look, it's an old game. It's done purposely to feel like you spent $50. It has nothing to do with the game design. It just punishes you by replaying the section over and over again. It has nothing to do with the difficulty itself. Something that designers thankfully dismiss these days. And besides, most retro gamers use save states anyway, so I don't see the point. Unless you're some speedrunning perfectionist, there's absolutely no valor here. Afterwards, they do another jet section, but midway in, Job shows up with his own fighter jet. Another confrontation between the Doctor and his creation. After Job and Angela's last encounter, the world has turned and so many have burned. How challenging or difficult will this battle of wits be? Very fucking easy, actually. Then you do another sorta boss fight with the priest, where you have to play a battleship-like game with each other, where you have to maneuver the position of your cannon with clues given on how you missed. Just guess or use save state, who cares? So I think I did a good job of making this game seem less confusing. This might seem like a decent game to try out, right? While you may ignore my plea of, don't play this fucking game, it's not worth it, unfortunately actually getting a copy is quite challenging. After doing another platforming stage, the cyberbully gas station, whatever, slides down to a giant pyramid with teeth, and you have to chase after him, gliding at the right time. The cutscene sorta imply that you go down once the teeth close, I guess, and then you go to another area where you have to play a game of Simon Says, taking you to the next part of the game, and it crashes. Yep, that's it. So, yeah, even the first time I played this game was a bit of a pain too. It was playable, but the screen looked pretty bad. But then, after I beat the jet stage, the game crashed trying to show me the FMV cutscene, so it's a bust. I saw my computer was biting off more than it could chew. Then I downloaded it again on another site, and it worked fine. Turns out the copy I downloaded was crap. And I didn't really have any other issues until this. At this moment of the game, it just freezes. No way to get out of it. And by the way, what comes after this is just another jet stage. There's no giant FMV or anything like that. And the other clips work perfectly fine. Hell, even before I played this game, I was playing Kamen Rider ZO, and that was all FMV cutscenes. And I tried everything. I tried to reload the save state, tried to turn the emulator on and off again, purposely failing, purposely solving a puzzle at the last second. Well, I mean, not literally. The time still goes while it's loading. Purposely getting the game over, even redoing certain sections before it. And I even did what I did before and downloaded other copies of the game, even the broken one. Unlike my main emulator, which is popular and well liked, this one was seen as below average. And in order to get to that one part, that meant I had to play the entire game again. So this is it, the moment of truth. Time to play Simon Says. I can see why this emulator is below average. Thankfully, I remember the pattern from another playthrough. And oh my god, thank goodness. Maybe there could have been another way, I don't know. But it seems that the problem was remedied by just switching emulators. And I am being very vague and choose not to release the names, as I don't want to shame the creators of the emulator over a game no one remembers, and an off chance there was a simpler solution. There's a few graphical issues, but it's not a big deal, although this does make me a little wary of Sega CD games. Overall, this new emulator is workable. I still manage to beat the game. Sometimes it freezes, but the remedy is to restart it. And be more patient when you boot it up. Maybe let the opening play out for a few seconds. Not as bad as last time. So after all of that, you do another speed section. Now, things appear to be normal, but then they throw obstacles at you. Now that sounds fine, but then afterward you instantly die. And it just keeps happening. At first I thought, what? Well, there's nothing I could do, the emulator is broken again. But then I kinda looked at the animation, and it turns out that it's just a game. And this was technically a tutorial. You see, later on in this stupid game, they don't tell you which direction to go, so you have to pay attention to the scenery. This is sort of a way to get you prepared for the last stage. So, right when you hit the projectiles, and quickly turn face on the scenery. And you only have 1 second of freaking reaction time. So it was a stupid piece of shit fucking game design. God damn, I hate this game. Many of the minigames are shown again, until you get to the B section, which actually shows you the movie scene playing in the background. At first, what I thought you were supposed to do was prevent the beast from coming near you. Then I found out that doing so gives you a game over. So instead, what you're supposed to do is lead the beast near you. Well, not actually to you. It's actually a fan that gets to kill the beast. Oh gee, of course it is! Now, the last major puzzle is the cube. May seem confusing at first, but the game gives you a hint.
Dr. Anslow. Dr. Anslow.
And yes, you have to spell the character's name with the cube. It is so cheesy and silly, and I want to like it, but I'm too pissed off to appreciate it. And you do it, and that's it. I spelled his name. Do I get to press anything else? I did everything right. Ah, damn. Okay, you're supposed to spell the name with the letters on the right side. Picky bastards. And then you do the shit mission I told you about before. There's no directions and you have to pay attention to the scenery. And this can be very annoying trial and error because you have to do it all over again if you don't. It's the end of the game. All you have to do is jump at the end of these bolts, and I could finally defeat Dean Norris and save my friends once and for all, and oh god damn it! Okay, all I have to do is jump at the end of these bolts, and jump and defeat Dean Norris and save my friends once and for all. God, I am so done with this fucking game. Your friends are saved, and Good Joe sends you back to the real world. But there's another evil unlocked. Who is it? Is it the abusive father? Is it the mind of the girlfriend? Who knows and who cares? Overall, this game sucks. Sure, admittedly the graphics look kinda nice if you like the style, but the Sega CD really makes it look choppy. The minigames are super annoying to play, the controls are totally unresponsive, and honestly, it's just like a game that the AVGN would play. But some people did like it, I guess. There was a sequel to this game on the PC called Lawnmower Man Cyberwar. Yeah, very minimal cover. It was planned to release on other consoles, but it only made it to the PC and PlayStation. Well, in Japan. And there's a sequel to the movie. which from what I hear isn't very good and bombed terribly. Yeah, that does not look like Joe. I thought it looked like a very interesting and unique game, but I guess you could say it was unique. But I didn't expect it to be so frustrating. Maybe I should play a better game instead. Like, I don't know, Silent Hill or something. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want, you can see some of my other content. Hope to see you soon.